Ja Morant has become a trending topic online once again, but this isn't about his skills on the basketball court. Speculation is running wild, suggesting the Memphis Grizzlies star might have been caught on video doing something unimaginable, something that could end his career permanently. Did he actually take someone's life? Or is there more to uncover behind his claim? The reality behind the startling footage might just leave you in disbelief. From controversies in nightlife to legal battles, Morant's issues seem to be piling up. So, what exactly went down? Let's dive into the story. The moment that shook the internet began as what appeared to be just another instance of Ja Morant enjoying himself. The rising NBA sensation, celebrated for his jaw-dropping dunks and highlight reel moves, was spotted in a car alongside his friend, Devontae Pack, casually enjoying some music. At first glance, it appeared completely innocent, just two buddies hanging out. But in an instant, Morant raised an object into view. A firearm. It was only visible for a moment, no more than a few seconds. Yet, that fleeting moment was enough. The internet, ever vigilant, caught it instantly. A viewer of the Instagram live stream quickly captured the clip, and from there, the video went viral, leaving people in absolute shock. Did Morant not already learn his lesson? Hadn't he faced almost the exact same predicament just a few months ago? The reaction was swift and unforgiving. The Memphis Grizzlies promptly issued a formal statement. "We are aware of the social media footage involving Ja Morant. Effective immediately, he is suspended from all team-related activities, pending a review by the league. We will not be offering further comments at this time." In an instant, the rising star found himself entangled in yet another major controversy. For many observers, it felt like history repeating itself. Not long before, Morant had been widely criticized and handed an 8-game suspension after brandishing a firearm during a live Instagram video while appearing drunk at a nightclub in Denver. The incident had resulted in significant repercussions. It involved an apology, enrollment in a Florida counseling program, and even a one-on-one meeting with NBA Commissioner Adam Silver to address the behavior. At the time, Morant had appeared contrite, taking responsibility and vowing to improve. However, with a second video now circulating widely, doubts about the authenticity of that promise began to emerge. Shannon Sharpe, other sports commentators, and fans didn't hesitate to voice their thoughts. A parody account on X, previously known as Twitter, summed up the collective frustration with a biting post. "This guy, Ja Morant on IG, is back waving his little gun again." The flood of memes, jokes, and backlash soon followed. The public's response, however, remained mixed. Some came to Morant's defense, asserting that his youth made him prone to errors in judgment. On the other hand, many believed he was deliberately jeopardizing his professional future. The NBA subreddit, a well-known platform for basketball-related conversations, was soon overflowing with posts and comments condemning his behavior. One person bluntly remarked, "This guy is just choosing to act like a fool at this point." Another highlighted how Morant hastily ended the live stream after realizing the camera had captured the incident, stating, "A second misstep right after issuing an apology is much harder to excuse." Just when it seemed there was no possible way for Morant to recover, his team put forth an unexpected explanation. The firearm seen in the footage wasn't real. They claimed it was a prop. This detail was revealed by Claudia Jordan during The Breakfast Club, a widely popular morning radio program. According to Jordan, her sources indicated the weapon in question was merely a toy and actually belonged to a family member who was present in the vehicle. This revelation posed a significant question. If the firearm turned out to be fake, should Morant really face consequences? Was this all just a tragic misunderstanding, or had the damage already been done regardless? To complicate matters, another off-court incident has cast a shadow over Morant's career, sparking concerns about his judgment and the influences around him. During a game, he reacted to a teammate's successful shot by imitating a gun gesture, a move that, under regular circumstances, might have gone unnoticed. However, in light of the serious accusations he was already facing, this seemingly trivial act only added fuel to the ongoing controversy. The issues began the previous year, during what was meant to be a casual pickup basketball game. During the match, a 17-year-old boy, whose identity remains undisclosed, got into an altercation with Morant. As per police reports accessed by the Washington Post, the teenager admitted to throwing a basketball, which unintentionally struck Morant in the face. The events that followed are where the narratives began to diverge. The teenager asserts that Morant lost control and struck him in the head 12 to 13 times. He also alleged that one of Morant's companions joined in, hitting him an additional 4 or 5 times. The police report noted that the teenager was left with a significant bump on the side of his head, which he later likened to the aftermath of an MMA bout. Morant, on the other hand, recounted a different version of the encounter. While admitting he did strike the teenager, he claimed it was purely an act of self-defense. According to Morant, the teenager verbally threatened him after the basketball hit, allegedly saying he intended to light up Morant's house. Morant explained to the police that the statement caused him and his family to feel unsafe, which led to his response. But the situation didn't end there. The teenager also reported that, once the altercation had ended and he began to leave, Morant allegedly went inside his home, only to re-emerge with a firearm. He asserted that Morant had the gun tucked into his waistband, with his hand resting atop it, seemingly conveying a silent threat. When questioned by police regarding this claim, Morant was reportedly asked about the subject of exhibiting a firearm. However, investigators never explicitly inquired whether he had actually done so. As word of the police reports circulated, some fans and analysts began to extend Morant the benefit of the doubt, suggesting that his actions might have been a response rooted in self-defense. Conversely, others interpreted the incident as yet another instance of an athlete engaging in irresponsible behavior that could risk his professional future. Among the loudest voices of criticism was Shannon Sharpe, a former NFL standout and current sports commentator who had clashed with Morant's entourage on prior occasions. Sharpe was direct in his disapproval, voicing his concerns about the star's troubling choices. "I've said it before, Ja. You have to adopt a different approach," Sharpe remarked. "You're in another league now, and I believe he needs to carry himself like someone who truly belongs in that league." Sharpe reiterated his point, warning that Morant was treading on thin ice with her actions. He suggested she was projecting an image that didn't reflect reality, essentially working against her own interests. "Ja, you gotta move smarter, bruh," he urged. Like Sharpe, many people online felt that Morant's conduct clashed with the level of accountability expected from someone in her position as both a role model and a central figure of the franchise. If the altercation with the teenager had been an isolated occurrence, some might have brushed it off as a singular lapse in judgment. Unfortunately, it wasn't long before reports emerged of another unsettling incident just a few days before her alleged confrontation with the 17-year-old. Records obtained by the Washington Post revealed that Morant had been involved in an intense altercation at Wolf Chase Galleria, a Memphis shopping mall. The situation reportedly began at the Finish Line shoe store, where Morant's mother was in a dispute with an employee. When asked to leave, her mother reached out to Morant, who soon arrived at the mall accompanied by 9 or 10 others. The mall security director claimed to feel intimidated by Morant and his group, who reportedly ignored requests to vacate the parking lot. When law enforcement arrived and instructed them to leave the premises, the situation grew more volatile. The official report indicates that while Morant wasn't named as a suspect, he was involved in a heated exchange that came dangerously close to becoming physical. According to the security director, a member of Morant's group struck him on the head, escalating the standoff. A police officer had to intervene, stepping between the parties to prevent an altercation. Although no charges were pressed following this event, it fueled the perception that Morant had been entangled in disputes that could carry serious ramifications. At just 25 years old, Morant is already a multi-millionaire, a celebrated NBA All-Star, and one of the league's most dynamic talents. Yet, his recent pattern of off-court controversies has cast a shadow over his promising career. NBA players are held to exacting standards, serving not only as representatives of their organizations, but also as influential role models for countless fans around the globe. The league has consistently emphasized that it will not stand for actions that tarnish its image. Morant's recent troubles have sparked debate about his decision-making and whether he's surrounding himself with individuals who positively influence his choices. Many young NBA talents have stumbled before due to lapses in judgment, proving that raw ability alone cannot guarantee a prolonged and successful career. This, however, wasn't the first time Morant had faced scrutiny. His behavior off the court had already drawn attention, and a prior incident only intensified the controversy. Yet, Morant believes there's more to his side of the narrative. Following the uproar around Morant's Instagram live video, where he was seen holding a gun inside a Denver nightclub, he faced widespread criticism. In response, during a candid one-on-one interview with former NBA star Jalen Rose, Morant aimed to clarify the situation. The firearm, he claimed, wasn't his. He repeated the statement with unwavering confidence. However, for many, it left more uncertainties than it provided clarity. If the firearm didn't belong to him, then who was the owner? And why, of all places, was he displaying it during an Instagram live session? Morant openly acknowledged the error of his actions. As he put it, "This isn't reflective of who I am. I don't support any form of violence, but I take full accountability for what I did." The rising NBA talent appeared fully conscious of the harm he had caused, not only to himself, but also to his team, the league, and his supporters. This could shed some light on why he openly referred to it as a poor decision. You could hear the regret in his tone, a clear indication that he understood the disappointment he had caused. Morant wasn't solely addressing the public to escape blame. He was striving to reshape the narrative surrounding his life. He admitted that his recent behavior had cast him as reckless, immature, and even dangerous. However, he was resolute in his desire to change that perception. Reflecting on his mistakes, he stated, "I recognize the image I've created for myself through my actions, but moving forward, I want to demonstrate who I truly am, show people what I stand for, and rewrite this story." To reinforce his intentions, Morant shared that he had begun taking steps to seek professional help. "I've been practicing anxiety breathing techniques and different strategies to manage and release all of that negative energy from my body," he revealed, detailing his decision to embrace therapy and Reiki sessions as a way to improve his mental state. A key driver behind his commitment to self-betterment is his 3-year-old daughter, Carrie. "The choices I made not only put me in a bad situation, but also affected my daughter," he confided to Rose. He went on to share how Carrie sometimes tells him when she's had a tough day, and it inspired him to seek help as well. If she can express her feelings to me, then I should be able to do the same with someone qualified to help, he explained. It was a rare, heartfelt glimpse into the vulnerable side of a player most known for his fiery presence on the court. However, the nightclub video wasn't the only trouble Morant was facing. He was already under investigation due to an earlier incident involving a 17-year-old teenager at the time. While in court, Morant explained that he had punched Holloway first during a confrontation in what he claimed was an act of self-defense. This altercation ultimately led Holloway to file an assault lawsuit against him in September 2022. The event occurred at Morant's property near Memphis during a casual pickup basketball match. Morant stated that Holloway, upset after losing multiple rounds, threw a one-handed pass that struck him in the face during a checkball exchange. During cross-examination, Rebecca Adelman, Holloway's attorney, questioned whether Morant viewed the basketball as a weapon. When asked if it could be considered deadly, Morant agreed and went on to mention it caused him pain. He recounted asking Holloway, "What do you want?" but said he received no answer. According to Morant, Holloway only responded by adjusting his shorts. According to Morant, the gesture he made was a defensive posture customary in his area. When Holloway moved closer, Morant responded by stepping in and landing the first punch, insisting it was an act of self-defense. Shortly after, Morant's friend, Devontae Pack, struck Holloway as well. Pack later confessed to throwing the punch during a deposition, which led to his arrest in July on a misdemeanor assault charge. The legal battle surrounding the incident has stretched on for over a year. In his testimony, Morant's father, T, mentioned that his son frequently hosted pickup basketball games at their home. He recalled that the particular game in question became highly competitive, with Morant and Holloway defending against each other while trading verbal jabs. However, Holloway presented a very different perspective, alleging that Morant and Pack attacked him without provocation. He subsequently filed a lawsuit accusing them of assault, reckless endangerment, and causing emotional harm. The case quickly spiraled into a tangled legal conflict. Morant claimed his actions were in self-defense, but social media was far from convinced. When his testimony began circulating online, Reddit users mercilessly criticized him. One commenter ridiculed Morant's assertion that the basketball thrown at him was a weapon, highlighting that he had testified it was indeed dangerous. When pressed on whether it was a deadly weapon, Morant simply stated, "It hurt." Another user sarcastically quipped that the real threat on the court wasn't Draymond Green, but a basketball. Yet another comment took aim at Morant's legal strategy, mocking his defense by questioning if he had used a discount coupon to hire his attorney, bewildered that his legal team would approve such statements in court. The internet exploded with memes and jokes at Morant's expense, and just as it seemed the uproar might settle, a past incident involving lasers, firearms, and the Indiana Pacers reemerged. This controversy, which unfolded weeks before the nightclub gun scandal, centered around a tense post-game scenario. After a heated matchup, some Pacers players reported spotting a red laser aimed at them from an SUV that Morant and his associates occupied. Pacers security suspected that the laser in question might have been connected to a firearm. Although the NBA conducted an inquiry, they ultimately failed to uncover solid proof that a gun was involved. Nevertheless, the league barred several of Morant's associates from attending games at the FedEx Forum. Following the incident, Morant took to Twitter with a vague post implying that the media was targeting him, but by that point, the damage had already been done. Fans of the NBA, along with its sponsors, were starting to grow frustrated. Ultimately, police in Glendale, Colorado, decided against pressing charges related to the nightclub gun video. Authorities concluded that there was insufficient probable cause to justify any legal action. It's worth mentioning that, according to department officials, no reports of a weapon were made to the police on the evening in question, nor were any service calls to the nightclub lodged. This fortunate outcome spared Morant from facing potential criminal charges. Unlike Gilbert Arenas, who faced a 50-game suspension in 2010 after bringing firearms into the Wizards' locker room, Morant managed to escape both legal penalties and severe disciplinary measures. Although the legal system had absolved him, the court of public opinion was a different story. The lingering question was whether Morant could successfully reshape his image or if he was inevitably bound to be remembered as a cautionary tale. As Morant served out his suspension and worked to rebuild his standing, both the NBA and the larger sport community observe his actions closely, waiting to see if he was genuinely committed to change or if his apology was merely a facade. Some were convinced of his sincerity and desire for personal growth, while others dismissed his words as a calculated PR strategy to avoid deeper consequences and maintain his lucrative career. One thing, however, was clear: his future would be decided by more than just his performance on the court. Yet, Morant's controversy transcended his individual choices. It shed light on an ongoing issue the NBA has struggled with for years: its unspoken conflict with gun culture. Ja Morant is far from the first professional basketball player to face scrutiny over firearm-related incidents. In fact, the careers of some of the league's most prominent figures have been shaped, and in some cases derailed, by their involvement with guns. Consider Stephen Jackson as an example. In 2006, an incident occurred outside a strip club in Indianapolis where he got into a heated confrontation. The situation spiraled out of control, leading Jackson to discharge a firearm. This decision resulted in the NBA imposing a 7-game suspension on him, and his public image suffered lasting damage. Then there's the notorious altercation between Gilbert Arenas and Javaris Crittenton. In 2010, a dispute over a gambling debt between these Washington Wizards teammates turned dangerously personal. Rather than resolving the matter responsibly, they escalated it by brandishing guns at each other inside the team's locker room. The NBA responded with hefty disciplinary action, sidelining Arenas for 50 games and Crittenton for 38. Crittenton's troubles didn't stop there. A few years later, he was sentenced to 23 years in prison after being convicted of manslaughter. Another instance came in 2014 when Raymond Felton faced legal issues after allegedly using a gun to threaten his estranged wife. He admitted guilt and faced a 4-game suspension. However, there's a crucial distinction between those incidents and Morant's case. The former involved explicit acts or threats of violence. Yet, even in far less severe scenarios, the NBA has struggled to establish a firm stance on issues involving firearms. Morant's circumstances have sparked parallels with other athletes who have publicly displayed their fascination with guns, such as Chris Kaman and Draymond Green. Kaman, a former center and a white player, repeatedly posted photos of his firearm collection on social media in 2012, 2013, and 2016. These posts generated no backlash, controversy, or disciplinary action. On the other hand, Draymond Green was photographed in 2018 while holding an assault rifle during a trip to Israel. No penalties, no monetary sanctions, just a few headlines and a bit of public disapproval. So, what sets Morant's case apart? Some suggest it's distinctive due to his involvement in multiple controversies, including accusations of violent behavior. Meanwhile, others point to perception as the key factor. Morant, a young black superstar, faces far more intense scrutiny than, say, a player like Kaman. Even if the NBA aimed to take a firm stand against gun culture, doing so would be challenging. Why is that? Because the culture of firearms is deeply ingrained in the league itself. Consider former Utah Jazz All-Star Andrei Kirilenko as an example. They called him AK-47, a clever nod to both his initials and jersey number, while also alluding to one of the world's most notorious assault rifles. More recently, fans began referring to Los Angeles Lakers guard Austin Reeves as AR-15, another moniker tied to a deadly firearm. In the aftermath of the devastating school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, Reeves chose to disassociate himself from the nickname. However, the fact that the name gained traction highlights the deep links between basketball culture and references to firearms. Even Kevin Durant, widely regarded as one of basketball's all-time greats, adopts this imagery. His Instagram username? Easy Money Sniper. The term sniper speaks to his unparalleled shooting precision on the court, but it also inevitably evokes ties to gun violence. Then there's the iconic Hall of Fame broadcaster Mike Breen, whose signature exclamation, "Bang," echoes through NBA arenas whenever a pivotal shot finds its mark. Designed to heighten the drama of the moment, the term also serves as another subtle reminder of how intertwined gun culture is with the league. Morant's issues are merely the newest addition to the NBA's long and intricate dynamic with its black athletes. This underlying tension has been simmering for generations. When Michael Jordan stepped away from the game in 2003, it left the league with a daunting task: how to maintain packed arenas, drive merchandise sales, and captivate a global audience without its most prominent figure. The solution? Embrace hip-hop and black culture. This led to the rise of a fresh generation of electrifying stars, including the likes of Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, and Shaquille O'Neal. These athletes were more than just players. They became symbols of cultural influence. They didn't merely listen to hip-hop, they lived it. As they traveled from one city to another, their style reflected the genre. Baggy jeans, loose-fitting t-shirts, and stylish fitted caps. Post-game interviews showcased do-rags and flashy diamond necklaces. Some even ventured into the music scene themselves, with Shaq, Kobe, and Iverson each dropping rap albums. Initially, the NBA seized this as a chance to innovate. The league recognized that embracing hip-hop culture could draw in a younger, more diverse fan base. It presented a dynamic and vibrant way to promote the sport. However, this period of excitement was short-lived. Two significant events in the early 2000s shifted the entire narrative. In 2004, the NBA witnessed the notorious malice of the Palace. During a matchup between the Detroit Pistons and the Indiana Pacers, chaos erupted as players clashed not only with each other, but also with fans. Pacers players stormed into the crowd, throwing punches in what became one of the league's darkest incidents. News outlets replayed the shocking footage endlessly, stoking concerns that the NBA was spiraling into disorder. Fast forward to 2005, and Team USA found themselves at a dinner in Serbia. Several players, including Allen Iverson, arrived dressed in oversized jeans, tracksuits, and bold jewelry. To the media and some league administrators, this wasn't seen as merely a matter of style. It became a point of contention. Outlets like the Washington Post framed the moment as emblematic of an image problem, underscoring that this wasn't the perception they wanted for the NBA's elite. This marked the breaking point. In response to growing concerns, NBA Commissioner David Stern enforced a stringent dress code. This policy prohibited players from donning oversized apparel, flashy jewelry, or attire associated with street culture. The league aimed to create distance from hip-hop influences. Then came a controversial remark from Phil Jackson. When questioned about the dress code, the iconic Lakers coach didn't mince words. He stated that for the past 5 or 6 years, players have been dressing like they were in prison, describing it as gangster thuggery. Beyond just critiquing style, the league seemed intent on ensuring its stars didn't appear too black or overly tied to a subculture that made certain audiences uneasy. Jumping to the present, Ja Morant finds himself at the center of similar scrutiny. While Morant's actions, such as brandishing guns on social media and encountering legal troubles, are undoubtedly serious, the criticism extends beyond his behavior. The way certain analysts and the media have characterized his behavior mirrors the NBA's enduring apprehensions regarding its black players. Consider ESPN's Tim McMahon as an example. During an episode of the Low Post podcast, his remarks about Morant struck a familiar chord. He referred to Ja Morant as a kid, saying this guy is obsessed with acting cool. Look at me, he's all about living like a rap video. This rhetoric is reminiscent of the language the league employed when it targeted players like Iverson. It's the same veiled critique that implies embracing too much hip-hop culture equates to recklessness, immaturity, or even danger. While the NBA celebrates black culture, it insists on doing so strictly within its own set boundaries. The league expects its players to be thrilling, stylish, and marketable, but avoids those who are too unpolished or overly tied to street culture. It wants athletes to showcase individuality, but only if that aligns with a polished, corporate-approved persona. Ja Morant's case is a complicated one. While he has made missteps that warrant accountability, the way his behavior is being portrayed through tired and familiar stereotypes highlights that the NBA's uneasy relationship with its black stars remains unresolved. In truth, it never truly was. Fans didn't overlook Morant's actions, with many flooding social media to voice their disappointment. The dominant view was that he hadn't learned from earlier missteps and continued to act irresponsibly. Some criticized him fervently, using mocking language and branding him a clown. Others argued that his persistent actions demonstrated an inability to grow, with one user speculating that Morant struggles to maintain self-discipline. Still, not all responses were entirely negative. While some fans voiced their frustration, others conveyed a sense of disappointment, acknowledging his remarkable abilities and wishing for better choices from him moving forward. As one person shared, "It's hard to witness, especially given his incredible potential. Hopefully, he can change course soon." The mixed reactions highlight the complexity of Morant's situation. Although his behavior continues to raise red flags, there is optimism that he can redeem himself. Following previous incidents involving firearms, the NBA issued Morant a hefty suspension of 25 games without pay. This penalty wasn't unprecedented, as he had already faced an 8-game suspension earlier for a similar issue. The league aimed to make a firm statement with this action. Actions that endorse or celebrate gun culture can lead to significant consequences. However, the harshness of the suspension ignited its own controversy. Some felt the punishment was overly harsh, suggesting that options like counseling, guidance, or community service might have been more constructive. Rather than benching him for 25 games, they argued that the NBA could have prioritized rehabilitation and education to guide him toward better decision-making. On the other hand, many supported the league's stance, highlighting that Morant had already been given opportunities to improve his behavior. A Reddit user noted this was a repeated offense, showing he failed to benefit from the counseling and growth initiatives offered previously. For these reasons, they considered the suspension more lenient than warranted. Another commentator brought up a prior incident where Morant's associates allegedly aimed a laser at an opposing team's bus. They reasoned that such behavior in a workplace, like flashing guns at colleagues in a parking lot, would warrant immediate intervention from management. Meanwhile, sports analyst Shannon Sharp openly criticized Morant's actions without hesitation. He raised concerns about why Morant appeared so intent on aligning himself with a risky lifestyle, especially given his status as a professional athlete with a $200 million contract. He noted that Morant seemed to deliberately surround himself with individuals from that world. He stressed that this wasn't who Morant truly was and that this lifestyle did not define him. Despite earning a $200 million deal, Morant appeared focused on convincing people in the NBA that he was part of a gritty, hood existence or living as a gangster. Many feel Morant is rejecting the opportunity to thrive as a star athlete and role model, instead opting for decisions that perpetuate a dangerous image of toughness, which ultimately hurts his career. Ja Morant's trajectory in the NBA hangs in balance. His skills on the court are outstanding, yet his recurring controversies off the court eclipse his accomplishments. The NBA has drawn a clear line, warning that further errors in judgment will not be tolerated, and some believe that continuing on this path could put his career in serious doubt. Now, Morant faces a crucial decision. Will he see this latest incident as a turning point to re-evaluate his actions, or will he persist in repeating the same missteps? Tap on the cards that show up on your screen to explore additional engaging videos.